Hello, music fans. You're watching Death by Unicorn, where we talk about metal, rock, and prog music. And now that it's the last day of March 2026, it's time to count down my top 10 albums that came out in March 2026, starting with number 10, which is actually an EP by a band called Moontooth, and the EP is called Bastard. This is progressive metal with alternative metal, hard rock, and stoner rock influences. And I put this one in my very good tier. It's pretty much near the top of my very good tier. Everything else on this list is going to be excellent tier and above for me. This almost made excellent, but it's just very short. Moontooth is an American band, and I thought their third album, Phototroph from 2022, was excellent. And I was hoping this could be equally good or maybe even better. And the singles were amazing. Eyes and Trudge, and the whole EP continues that level of quality. It just leaves me wanting more. I would definitely have given this an excellent tier rating if there was a full album of this quality, but it's a very short EP, so I just put it in very good for now. At number 9, I've got Neurosis with their album An Undying Love for a Burning World. This is atmospheric sludge metal with post-metal, hardcore punk, doom metal, post-rock, post-hardcore, industrial, and progressive metal influences. And I put this in my excellent tier. Really, my number 4 through 9 in today's video are pretty much interchangeable. They're all so even in quality. It's hard to know how to rank them. But check out the track Seething and Scattered for a preview of this. This is the 12th album by Neurosis. They're an American band, and it's their first album in almost 10 years. They dismissed their previous singer, Scott Kelly, after he confessed to allegations of abuse towards his wife and family. And their new singer is Aaron Turner. He also plays guitar. He was in the now defunct band with a very unfortunate name, ISIS, which is a great band. I think he's in another band too. I forget the name. I think it was Sumac or something. And this is an excellent album that ends with an almost 17-minute prog epic track. If you're a fan of bands like Cult of Luna and Mastodon, definitely check it out. It's kind of like a mix of those bands, and you should really enjoy this one, An Undying Love for a Burning World by Neurosis at number 9. And at number 8, I've got Major Parkinson and their album Valesa, Chapter 2, Viva the Apocalypse. This one is experimental progressive art rock with synth pop and rock opera vibes to it, and it's also in my excellent tier. Check out the track Karma Supernova for a preview here. This is Major Parkinson's 6th album. They're from Norway, and I thought Chapter 1 of Valesa from 2022 was good, but it wasn't as good for me as the earlier stuff that I heard from this band. Though I haven't heard their full discography yet. Previously, before this new album, Viva the Apocalypse, I had always felt the vocals in the band were a bit too experimental and weird sounding for me. I liked the music. I thought it was interesting and unique. But I was still interested in and respected this band despite not really jiving with the vocal sound. For this new one, I enjoyed the singles that I heard ahead of time right away. Algorithm is Dancer, Viva the Apocalypse, and Super Dad. I could still hear kind of the weird vocal sound to it, but I really started warming up to it a lot more. And the whole album really resonated with me a lot more than Chapter 1. I love their use of 7 beats per bar and Father Superior and the female guest vocals from Haley. I also love Karma Supernova, which also has some of that 7 beat per bar stuff, but also has some dancey 4/4 moments. Maybelline and Kiss Me Now, and the album with a strong 1-2 punch of tracks that feature guest female vocals from Periwinkle, and she does a great job as well. And even the male vocals on this album didn't bother me as much as on their past albums. There's even a part in The Doctor in Command from 221 to 241 that made me think of Elton John trying to do a really hard rockin' vocal. And I think this could be their best album yet, but of course I do need to go and listen to the rest of their catalog to be sure. But I really enjoyed Karma Supernova. That's my favorite track on the album at this time. So check out Valesa Chapter 2, Viva the Apocalypse by Major Parkinson, my number 8 of March 2026. At number 7, I've got Legs on Wheels with their album Gobble. This is progressive art rock as well, but a bit more of the psych rock, alternative rock, even pop and punk rock and jazz and Canterbury scene mixed in. I'm putting this in my excellent tier as well. Check out the track Winner Winner for a preview here. This is their second album. Legs on Wheels is from the UK. They put out Legroom in 2023. And before that, they put out Iguana Salad in 2018, which Rate Your Music and Discogs both mentioned. So maybe this is actually their third album and not their second. But that one's not on Spotify or Bandcamp. And I think it's actually more like an EP as it's under 31 minutes long. So I'm going to say this is their second album. Maybe it's their third. Someone who knows more about this band, let me know. Like, does Iguana Salad count as an album? They do have some other EPs too. Before hearing this album, though, this was my entry point to them with Gobble. I never heard any of their albums or EPs before this. I did go back and listen to Legroom, which is equally excellent. And I love how Legs on Wheels manages to be quirky, eclectic, and out there while still being accessible, catchy, and melodic all at the same time. Great vocal harmonies, interesting guitar parts. Not focusing too much on flashiness or virtuosity, but more so just creating a great vibe here. That sounds good to you. Check out Gobble by Legs on Wheels. At number 6, I've got Gong with their album Bright Spirit. This one's kind of even more psychedelic space rock. It's got jazz, it's got progressive rock influences. I know the band sometimes categorized as Canterbury scene. I'm not sure if they're that anymore. Probably more psych space rock at this point. But check out the track Dream of Mine for a preview here. This I'm putting in my excellent tier as well. And this band's been going for a long time. Gong, it's hard to count how many albums they have. They're a multinational band. They formed in Paris in 1967. So they're formed a really long time ago. Of course, the members have been in and out and changing. And so it's one of those ever-evolving lineups. The current band is now located in the UK. I think this is their 17th album released under the name Gong, but there were at least 8 released under Pierre Moreland's Gong, 4 as Gongzilla, and 1 as Gong Espresso, 1 as New York Gong, and a bunch as Mother Gong. And they all have different sets of members going off and forming different branches. I really enjoyed their last album, Unending Ascending from 2023. That's excellent as well, and I was hoping this could be as good or better. Still not sure if I can call it better yet, but I think it's equally as good as their last album. And my favorite track currently is Dream of Mine. The opener, it's 10 minutes and 32 seconds long. It's the longest track on the album. Check it out, Bright Spirit by Gong, my number 6. At number 5, I've got Erra with Silence Outlives the Earth. This is progressive metalcore / Djent with alternative metal influences. In my excellent tier, check out the track Gore of Being for a preview. And this is Erra's 6th album. They're an American band, and I think everything they've done is excellent. They really have great potential as well. I think they could make a near masterpiece, but for me, this band never quite gets there. My criticism of them is it all starts to sound a bit samey, and they don't do anything too adventurous. I was hoping they would take some more risks here, but the singles I heard ahead of the album are all excellent. They do sound like their usual sounds. So if you know what Erra sounds like, you know what you're going to get here. Gore of Being, Further Eden, and the many names of God, I think. Like a part 1 or something. The whole album continues their typical mix of melodic vocals and harsh vocals with rhythmic, heavy, djenty metalcore riffs, somewhat technical lead guitars from time to time, nothing too unique or progressive or out there, but what they do really well. Some of the melodic hooks could compete with stadium rock bands for catchiness, and some of the djenty riffs are reminiscent of the greats like Periphery and Meshuggah. So check it out if you want to hear a mix of djenty riffs with harshness and stadium rock level anthemic choruses. That's Silent Outlives the Earth by Erra at number 5. At number 4, I've got Lamb of God with Into Oblivion. This one's groove metal, and I've also got it in my excellent tier. Check out the track El Vacío as a preview here. This is Lamb of God's 12th album. They're an American band, and I enjoy pretty much all of their work. A lot of it is excellent stuff. They're a very consistent band, but like what I said with Erra, they never quite cross into that near masterpiece tier for me. I enjoy the singles I heard from this album ahead of time, which were Sepsis, Parasocial Christ, Into Oblivion, and Blunt Force. And the whole album continues their excellence. But I do particularly like the track El Vacío. It has some rare clean vocals for Lamb of God, and I like when they do clean vocals and mix them in with their harsh like they do on this track. Some of the polymetric guitar parts on this track remind me of Tool, which is a great thing for me. So it's currently my favorite track on the album, and this could honestly be one of the best Lamb of God albums, but it's hard to say because they're very consistent, and I'll need to listen to it more to see how it stacks up to the rest of their catalog. That's Into Oblivion by Lamb of God at number 4. Now we're jumping into my top 3, and these ones are my standout ones of the month. At number 3, I got Only Human with Planned Obsolescence, which came out on Seasons of Mist on that label. And this is progressive metal Djent, and I'm putting it in my near masterpiece tier. And my top 3 are all going to be in my near masterpiece tier. Check out the track Automata for a preview of this album. I did a reaction video to their music video for it on my channel. I think I mentioned it in my last video that I posted too, and put a link to the card, and maybe I'll do the same if I remember. And Only Human's a Danish band, and this is their debut album. One of the best debuts I've heard this year. It would be the best if not for another one that I'm going to mention right after this. But if you're a fan of Tesseract, Periphery, and Northlane, definitely check this out. Big thanks to Season of Mist for sending me an early promo of the album. Loved it right away. I keep loving it on every listen. This is a concept album. It warns of a not too distant dystopian future on the brink of collapse, focusing on the dangers of technology and how it's changing human behavior while we offload our critical thought and algorithms are deciding what we should do. Yeah, I still think the track that I reacted to, Automata, is my favorite on the album. Just an awesome, awesome album. Gives me a lot of Tesseract vibes, which I love, and I love Tesseract. So check out Planned Obsolescence by Only Human. At number 2, I've got another debut album and another concept album. It's Terravia with their album A New World. This is progressive metal as well. A bit less djenty than the last one I mentioned, but still a great kind of classic sounding progressive metal album that takes influence from a lot of the greats. There's a mix of harsh vocals and clean vocals here, and I'm putting this in my near masterpiece as well. Check out the track The Origin for a preview of this one. Yeah, Terravia is from Norway, and this is their debut album. It's a 58-minute album. It only has 5 tracks, so you know it's going to be pretty proggy. It ends with an over 17-minute prog epic title track. If you're a fan of Dream Theater, Devin Townsend, Opeth, and Almo, definitely check this out. Those are all bands that I love, so I'm definitely loving this one from Terravia, A New World, my number 2 album of March 2026. And my number 1 is The Deer Hunter with Sunya. This is progressive art rock with funk, jazz fusion, electronic pop, symphonic influences. Also in my near masterpiece tier, check out the track The Glass Desert 2, Cliffs and Stormlands for a preview of this one. Now, The Deer Hunter is a band that I love. Definitely my favorite band of the ones that I've mentioned here in this video today. And this is their 9th album. They're from the US, and every studio album they put out is just a near masterpiece. and I was hoping they'd continue their streak of greatness here, and they really did. I enjoyed the early single I heard before, which was the Glass Desert 1, but it was hard to know from that how great the whole album would be, because this is the type of album you listen to from start to finish. It all needs to be heard in context. It's another concept album, so all my top 3 here are concept albums, like most Deer Hunter albums are. And yeah, the Glass Desert 1, 2, and 3 is a suite of tracks that I really enjoy. And the album continues a story in the world built on their last album, Antimai. And it's a separate story from the concept that they use on their Act 1 to 5 album series. No, I don't really follow the whole stories of these concept albums, but for some reason I do like them. I like knowing that the music has a story, and like when I really get to know an album and listen to it over and over again, once I've heard it like 100 times, I can start to like understand the story, or even if I don't fully grasp it when they're too weird, it just get bits of it and it gives it a cool vibe. But I really love the music on here. That's the main thing that draws me in. They've really done it again. Near masterpiece to your album here from the Deer Hunter. And even though I don't think this is quite as good as Act 4 and Act 5 from them, it's about on par with, but maybe a little bit below their last album, Antimai. They'd be an interesting band to try to do a ranking of, because they're also just amazing throughout their whole discography. They don't really have any duds. So I just need some more listens to decide how I slot this into their discography. The difference in sound here is they've got a lot more synthesizers going on this album than on their past work. They even dipped their toes into using some auto-tune Daft Punk sounding vocals from time to time, which I normally don't like, but it's used sparingly enough and in an artistic way here, so I actually like how they did it here. And most of their vocals still follow the style that you'd come to expect from them, but they've done on past albums. They're expertly performed vocals, not too many effects, just some awesome harmony vocals behind them as well. And it seems like this sonic world of Antimai and Sunya have a bit less indie rock and emo influences than what the Act series had, but they've got more of this jazz, funk, and electronic influence mixed in with them. So if you like the sounds of that, check out Sunya by the Deer Hunter, my number 1 album of March 2026. That's it for my top 10 favorite albums of March. What were yours? Let me know down in the comments. And what do you think of my list? Also, let me know. And if you like metal, rock, and prog music, you're in the right place. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and stay in the loop when I post new videos. Every month I post my top 10 albums of the month, and every week I post my first impressions on new music that came out that week. And occasionally I do some videos on other topics. Like lately I posted my big 6 of classic prog rock bands, comparing my personal favorite 6 to the classic kind of objective big 6. And then I did the same for modern prog rock. Thinking my next video in that series will be to do the same for prog metal, come up with an objective big 6 and compare it to my favorite 6. And maybe before that one, I'll be doing my review of Dream Theater's Metropolis Part 2, Scenes from a Memory. So stay tuned for that, and peace out.